Welcome back to the Four Chains, and today is a very exciting day because today I am going to give you the most powerful tool that is available to you in the entire universe. This tool will be the difference maker in you being a success at work, being a success at home, being a success in anything that you want to try, and that's why I want to give it to you. Now, this is a shortened version of the hour-and-a-half speech that I have literally given hundreds of times for not just Domino's and other restaurants, but Fortune 500 companies all over the world, because they understand that this does make a difference. It's not just about New Year's resolutions, it's about living the goal-focused life, and why we subtitle it, How to Supercharge Every Day That You Are Blessed With. Because if you use this tool, it's literally going to transform your life. So let's just get into it. I want to say that this is a tool that, although it has completely transformed my life, I know it can transform everybody's life, because I was not ever going to be voted most likely to succeed. I may be most likely to be in jail or shot, I don't know, but I was not pegged for success, broken home, boo-hoo-hoo, all of that, but it should not have worked out for me. I mean, just think about this. I mean, I'll just admit to you guys, I was suspended 8 times. During my school years, I was expelled from 2 schools. And I say that it's 2, but if you count Sunday school and the Boy Scouts, you could probably up it to 4. But somehow, I raised 2 daughters. Both of them got into college programs that accept less than 5% of the applicants, and both of them in their early careers are already having a lot of success. That shouldn't have happened. And that's my point. It can happen for you. Because it happened for me, this is something you can also do. I mean, just think down the road. I mean, for people who watch this channel, you know Angie. I'm not stupid. There are mirrors in my house. I know personally how I'm perceived. I know that people who see us together on video or in real life, they think, let's just say, they think one of 2 things are true about me. And I wish I could say they were both true, but they're definitely not. The first one, nothing I can do about. The second one, okay, I've earned some money, but the day that Angie walked down the aisle for me, I made less than $5 an hour. Okay, so that certainly shouldn't have happened. You look at work. I mean, I am one of only 2 Triple Crown winners in Domino's history. Driver of the Year, Manager of the Year, Supervisor of the Year. I won Driver of the Year twice. In addition to Manager of the Year, I won DPZ National Operator of the Year. And I've won Supervisor of the Year 3 times. How did that happen? I was never the best driver, manager, or supervisor for any of those awards. So how have I been so fortunate? I mean, I am the only person in history to be on the podium at both the world's fastest pizza maker contest and a World Series of Poker event. Shouldn't have happened. I have only run 1 political campaign. Prior to that, I had no political experience. It was a political campaign where we were losing by 60 percentage points when I was hired. And we wound up winning that campaign, and it was national news. It was such a huge, huge upset. How did all of that happen? I am going to tell you today. The thing is the narrative about me, and I know this is the narrative because, when people introduce me at events, one of the things they always talk about is fire in the belly or heart, or just that, I win these things because I just want it more. And, I want it, and I don't know about the other people, so maybe I want it more. But I know what the real secret is that although we are a goal-setting society, we're terrible about it. One of the things about my goals is, yeah, I want it bad, but it's also how I word the goals, how I create the goals is the real difference maker, and that means that anybody can do it. So I'm going to sit here and talk about Number 1, You must be accountable for the goal's failure and rewarded for its success, right? If you set the goal, ask yourself, at what point will I know that I've failed this goal? At what point will I know that I've succeeded in this goal? Take, for instance, every New Year's Eve. Literally millions of people make the same resolution / goal. And that resolution is, I'm pausing here for you to actually answer it. I know that you got it right because I have given this speech literally hundreds of times all across the country, and I've never had an audience get it wrong. And the answer is, as you've already guessed, to lose weight. That is the most common New Year's resolution. It's also the least successful New Year's resolution. And why is that? Well, think about it. To lose weight, I want you to make yourself accountable. I've talked before in other videos. The thing holding most people back is just like their fear of failure. Failure is something that should be treasured. It should not be something you're scared of. Abraham Lincoln lost more elections than he won. Is he thought of as a failure? No, because the losses aren't what matters. What matters is the wins. You should not be scared. Here's some evidence. I am going to ask you at the end of this video, I'm asking you now, once you've watched this video, put your New Year's resolution, put your personal goal, put your work goal on there, and I will evaluate it based on the 5 criteria I'm going to give you. Now, you would think on paper that everybody would want to do this and get this evaluation on this goal to help them with their goals, but I know that very few people will. Why? Fear. They don't want to write their goals, put their goals out there for people to see, because then if they don't get it, people will know. What I'm saying is you should desire that more than anything. When you set your New Year's resolution, tell the people that you care about, the people that you would love to impress by reaching that goal, or the people that you would be, frankly, embarrassed or ashamed to not complete the goal, because that makes you accountable. You don't want to be let off the hook. You do not want to give yourself an out. And think about to lose weight. Where's the thrill of victory? Where's the agony of defeat? At what point have you succeeded in losing weight? At what point have you failed in losing weight? If you don't have that criteria, no matter what your goal is, it's not a good goal. Now, here's a good goal, a good New Year's resolution for somebody. I want to be below blank, 200 pounds, whatever. I want to be below 200 pounds by March 1st. Now, it's the same intent. Both of them want to lose weight. Why is one of them set up for failure and one of them set up for success? Because in the second one, you can be accountable for its failure and rewarded for its success. On March 1st, that morning, you are going to be standing on a scale. And you're either going to be 199 or less, or you're going to be 200 or more, and you will know. You can picture that scene of you standing on that scale. Picture that, and that can drive you. You don't want to see that 2. You want to see the 1, and so every day you can be thinking about that. Put yourself on the hook. Let me tell you the extreme example. If you're with Dominos Pizza, you already know this story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it to you anyways. A shorter version, I was passed up for a promotion. It was the store. Everybody in Domino's has their dream store. This was my dream store. I was the reigning manager of the year. Any store that's opened, if I want it, to me, that feels like I should get it. But of course, we know other things, there are other factors in those type of decisions. I spent a day feeling sorry for myself. I'll tell you that. I did. No doubt about it. But the day 2 from when I learned I wasn't getting the promotion was the team meeting. Now, if you know Domino's lore, you know about Team Washington's team meeting. They start off with a 10-kilometer race. not a 10-kilometer run, a 10-kilometer race. I assure you it is very competitive. And then everybody gathers in the ballroom. By everybody, I mean all the assistant managers, all the supervisors and above, the owner, the office staff, everybody. And we go around the entire room, every single person there. They have to stand up one by one, say their name, their job, and the best way to be a success in Domino's Pizza, which is deliver great pizzas in less than 30 minutes. If you did not say it loud enough, then everybody yelled remake and you had to write it again. You had to yell it again. So I'm not going to hurt your ears by yelling it, but my thing would be Jim Moran, manager, Reston, deliver the world's greatest pizzas in less than 30 minutes. And I would have to say it loud enough. This day, I wasn't going to say it all. I'll just tell you, this will shock you, I was almost always the loudest person at every meeting. So when it came my turn, I paused enough to make sure attention was on me. And I stood up and I held a poster board that said 6,883. And I showed everybody in the ballroom that poster, Norma Rae style, for anybody old enough to know the movie Norma Rae. And I said, this is the difference, a million times louder I'm saying it to you now, this is the difference between my store sales and Skyline sales last week. In other words, they had beat me by $6,883. I put that thing down in a very demonstrative way, and then I picked up another piece of poster board that had a 0 on it. And I said, this is going to be the difference when I'm done. And I threw it down and the place erupted. Everybody knew Skyline was my dream store. Everybody knew that I hadn't gotten it, and it was a big drama deal. Now, I did this for a reason. Now, I knew Team Washington. I promise you, this is going to shock you because I seem so nice now. I was not the most likable guy back then. I was a little too competitive. I wasn't particularly magnanimous about my wins. And, I knew that if I didn't beat Skyline sales, every single meeting that I went to, people would be like, hey, what was Skyline sales last week? What are your scales last week? I never would have heard the end of it. But that's okay, because I also knew that everybody would be watching. And in truth, beating Skyline in sales was just a sub-goal to my actual goal. For 6 weeks, I averaged $884 closer to Skyline sales. Every week I gained on them. And like I say, the average was $884. It's probably the part where you think that I tell you that, and then 10 weeks later, I beat Skyline in sales. Nope, I never beat Skyline in sales. I still don't think that store has ever beaten Skyline in sales, but I got my real goal, which was I wanted to highlight how terrible a decision it was for that supervisor not to give me that store and put his judgment into question. And at the end of 6 weeks, I wasn't given the opportunity to finish my goal because I was given that supervisor's job. I had put myself in a position where my failure would be very public, but my success would also be rewarded. And that's how it played out. Number 2, it should be accomplished with daily progress. Okay, so ask yourself this. Look at your goal. What are you going to do tomorrow to get closer to that goal? There's 2 reasons why daily progress is important. Number 1 is you should be able to get closer to your goal. Like I said at the beginning, I want this to affect your life forever. Every day your life to be better because of living the goal-focused life. So if you can't do something tomorrow or the next day to get closer to your goal, you need to reword that goal. It's probably not specific enough. But the other thing is, this allows you to set huge pie-in-the-sky goals. Goals that might seem, at least in the short term, to be completely impossible. And sometimes if people just give up hope on a goal because it's impossible, then they're just going to not be working towards it. So if you focus on the daily progress, then you're going to be able to be rewarded every single day. The goal may be pie in the sky, but each day you get a little closer to it. That in and of itself is a sub-goal, a sub-reward. So let me tell you how I learned this thing. I mentioned earlier that I ran a political campaign. I didn't care about politics. My dad was a politician. Our relationship is fantastic now. Was not great back then. And, you know, I really had no interest. But my dad called me up one day, said he was running for Congress. I'm like, all right, good luck, buddy. Click, you know, whoa, 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 don't hang up. And he said, I'm running against Stan Paris. Stan Paris had embarrassed me when I was in 5th grade. If you are in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you know that one of the common field trips that you take in school is a trip to the Capitol. And when we did this, he made fun of me. The entire class laughed at me. I desperately tried to hold off those tears and I couldn't do it, which made it even more embarrassing. So he made my list. As soon as my dad said he was running against him, I drove down there. I was put in charge of Prince William County, Virginia, which at the time was not friendly to my dad's political party. The first thing I did was I gathered some friends of mine, my girlfriend, who's you all know, Angie, who's now my wife, her sister, my 2 best friends, and we did a phone poll. And we found that we were losing by 60 points. I subsequently found out I wasn't the first person hired to run Prince William County. That person also did a phone poll, found out that they were going to get destroyed and quit. So quitting was not an option for me because Stan Paris was on my list. So I told everybody to go home. I said, let's meet back in the office at 10 a.m. and I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. Don't lose faith. This is only going to make us bigger heroes. I'm not sure whether I believe that was true when I said it, but it certainly turned out to be the case. We got there. The next day, I got there early and I wrote on the blackboard the following thing. We set our goals high. High atop a mountaintop. So high we know it may never be reached. But at the end of each day, we will be able to say, today I climbed my hardest. Because I knew daily progress was all I had. Could I sit there and say, hey guys, I know that nobody from this political party has ever won this district. I know that we're down by 60 points. I know that incumbent congressmen are reelected 98.4% of the time, but I guarantee you we're going to do this. All I could guarantee him is we were going to focus on getting a little bit closer each day. And they bought it. I think I even put that it was like Shelley or Keats that did the quote. I actually came up with the quote out of desperation. I've never come up with a quote as cool before or since, but I put somebody else's name because I knew they wouldn't believe that I had written it. And the thing about it is I just kept visualizing every day as I drove into work, him embarrassing me. Now, you don't remember the Gracie Allen show. It was the #1, the George Burns, Gracie Allen TV show. 70% of households watched it back in the day. And this was before Will Ferrell, so the bar for comedy was a little bit lower, but they used to close their show every day with George Burns saying to Gracie Allen, say goodnight, Gracie. And Gracie would say, goodnight, Gracie. Yeah, there's a joke in there, and people thought it was hilarious at the time. So when he made fun of me, he said to me, oh, we got ourselves a regular George Burns here. The kids were a little too young to know who he was, but the teachers did, and they laughed their ass off, and sure enough, the kids started laughing at me too. And I remember that like it happened 5 minutes ago. The story of how we won that campaign could fill an entire video, but let's just say on election day, Stan Paris showed up at a poll that I was there. His campaign assistant pointed me out. He strutted over me the only way rich racists can with that walk and that expensive suit, and he reached out his hand and he said, I hear you're the guy making all the trouble for me down here. And I grabbed his hand and I pulled the sitting congressman close to me and I whispered in his ear, say goodnight, Gracie. Now, Did he remember, wait a minute, this is the kid I made fun of when he was in 5th grade? No, he didn't. But believe me, he knows the story because I told that story on CNN Live that night because we were the story. It was so unlikely that we could do it. And the whole reason we did is because we were able to make daily progress. Get a little closer to a goal that seems impossible. By election day, it just didn't seem that impossible. Number 3, the process and the result must be worthy of celebration. I really wanted to run a marathon. A lot of people feel that way. I love running. Can't do it anymore because of my age and my knees and my back, but I love it. You know, when I'm out jogging, I get, clears my head. I do my best thinking. I love the process of training for a marathon and picturing me crossing the finish line and all happy with myself. That was a vision that I really, really celebrated. But if you hate jogging, that's not a good goal for you. Whatever your goal is, ask yourself, picture yourself, visualize yourself achieving that goal. And are you celebrating? If you're not, you need to tweak the goal or work on something entirely different, right? I like to visualize me achieving all of my goals. And when I've got something that's particularly important to me, I normally think about it every night before I go to bed and every morning when I wake up. Okay. This is one that all the moms who are watching this should probably fast forward to number 5 because you're not going to like it. Why? Because if you are a mother in the United States of America, it is mandatory that you teach your kids, I think it's like written into a law, that it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. So I don't want to upset your mom. So I'm just going to tell you a little secret. It's about whether you win or lose. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it just is. It doesn't mean that's the best case scenario in the world, but it's just how society is. You know, we write songs about nobody does it better. That's a song. That's a big hit James Bond song. So is, you're simply the best. Is that a James Bond song? I don't know. But I do know that there are no songs that like second place is pretty sweet too. You came in second. That's pretty darn dope. We don't celebrate silver medalists or bronze medalists. We only celebrate gold medals. I'm not saying this is the best way to be. I'm just saying it's true. So you have to picture it being a win. Now, does that mean that you need to say that you're going to win a marathon or it's not a good goal? No, because you can beat your best time you've ever had. You can complete a race. You can further than you ever had. It's all how you do it. When I was at Aspen Hill, my first store that I managed was doing $6,000 a week when I got there. Did I want to beat GW in sales and be number 1 in sales? So that was over 50,000. No, what I did was I picked out the second lowest store in sales, which was Wheaton, Maryland, and I said, I'm going to beat them. And then I just started picking out different things. You will not be motivated by coming in second place or coming in third place or nothing. It has to be you. It has to be you picturing the win, right? Or it's just not going to drive you. It's just not going to change your life. So just word it in a way where it is a victory, right? Number 5, it must be completely free of built-in excuses. The worst goal I ever had was a friend. I won't mention him, still a really good friend, and I care about him, but he was like, well, my New Year's resolution is to lose weight, but, it's going to be tough if my knees don't hold up. Number 1 is lose weight, so he's not accountable for the failure or success. Number 2, he's already built in a reason not to achieve that goal. Here's the thing. There are excuses, but 99% of them can be changed into challenges. A lot of people are like, there is no excuse for failure, blah, blah, blah. I had a manager whose goal was to be 10% positive in sales for the year. They managed a campus store. Then COVID hit, and none of the kids were on campus to buy pizzas, and this manager tried very hard but was negative. Is that a good excuse? Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you where the bar is. It's Jamarian Styles. When you're done with this video, look him up. He was a guy whose goal was to play basketball for the starting team, for the varsity team. He loved basketball more than anything. The problem is he didn't have arms. One arm was gone entirely. The other arm was cut off at the wrist. If you know anything about basketball, that's a huge handicap. But it wasn't an excuse for him. It was a challenge for him. It actually made him focus more because he knew that if he could make the starting team, if he could make any team, if he could get any playing time at all, then it would be a good excuse. And the video of this guy draining three-point shots without arms is inspiring. So yeah, there are excuses, but you have to ask yourself, is your excuse better than Jamarian Styles? It's the same thing about being held accountable for its failure, for its success. People are afraid of failure, so they built in a reason why they can't achieve this goal. Losing is glorious because the biggest winners that there's ever been have always been people willing to put it out there and lose. So I would say that those are the criterias. Now, if you want, you can send me, first of all, we're going to have more goal-oriented stuff, so please subscribe if you want to be part of that. But what I would ask you is, if you want a worksheet for the 5 reasons, then just send us a DM and we will email it to you or text it to you or whatever. But what I want you to do is take your New Year's resolutions, if it's past New Year's when you're watching this, whatever your goals are, and run them by the 5 criteria and ask yourself whether they qualify for the 5 criteria. If you want, you can put it out there. If you're not afraid of failure, put what your goal is in the comments, and I will evaluate it myself based on the 5 things. I don't care whether there's 50,000 goals on there. I know there won't be because people are just too scared, but I will evaluate every goal that goes in there. And what I'm saying to you is, it's the whole premise about when you're at work and you see people who work 40 hours a week and constantly look exhausted. And then you have other people, successful people, that work 60, 70 hours a week, and they seem like they're just so pumped full of energy. They're ready to go all the time. How could that be? Is it that they're just more physically impressive? No, it's because they have goals. They are energized to get those goals, and that creates a static energy in their life that really, makes those work hours, instead of draining them, and inspires them. The same thing with goals at home. Like in your real life, your non-work life, you will be energized, you will be happier if you have a goal, if you have a purpose, you're trying to achieve things. And then of course, you can reward yourself for those successes, or reward yourself for those failures. Because if you've never failed, that means you haven't set your goals high enough. And when you do, that's just a lesson learned for your next success. Thank you so much. We're going to see you next time on The 4 Chains.